sales is not literally just selling a product or a service. It's building a relationship. And I like that.
Yeah, it's building a relationship because, people buy from people they see who are authorities and who they trust.
Mhm.
They don't necessarily buy from their friends, which is why especially the women I train, I'm like, I don't want you to be friendly. I want you to be an expert, right?
Mm.
But I think too is invest, like whether it's me or someone else, obviously I'm a sales trainer, invest in your sales like training and your skill set because you're wearing so many hats, you don't want to be allocating 20 hours into sales calls and only being able to close 8 because that's 12 hours that could be allocated elsewhere in the business.
Welcome to the Throne of Wealth, the podcast that empowers you to reign over your financial future. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. The Throne of Wealth is brought to you by King of Kings Accounting Firm, where financial challenges become opportunities for growth. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode, and we're here today with a special guest. And guess what, people? Guess what? Coffee is for closers only. That's Andrés Mego. Andrés Mego, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I love the intro.
Man, I love the conversation we had off camera before starting. And we're both drinking coffee, by the way. So we better be closing.
ABCs.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. You are a professional sales coach. And tell us, how do you started, how you add value to so many entrepreneurs, so many people out there like me that don't know how to ask for money when we're closing a deal.
Yeah.
And that we prolong the process of the deal, not only create frustration on the buyer that they're ready to buy and close, but in addition, adding more burden to that team, man.
Yes. We're going to have fun today. We're going to have fun. A little background about me. So I've been selling in different industries for the last 8 to 10 years. For the last 6, I focused more in the remote space. And what I do now is I help founders, I help founder-led sales teams, and I train teams to become what I call lethal at sales and improve their communication. So I work with anywhere from online small businesses to wealth managers, kind of like the full array. My sales philosophy is that, I think a lot of people experience very high pressure sales, right, throughout their lives, and it creates a lot of sales resistance. And so if we sound like everybody else, right, we're going to create a lot of sales resistance, and we're just not going to be able to get people over the line because they won't open up, they won't trust you. Or maybe you've experienced this when you're a founder and you're really good at what you do, you kind of want to over explain.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other person is like, oh my God, that was so much information. Thank you. I need to digest it. And then we prolong the sales process when we don't need to. So that's kind of my philosophy when I work with founders or sales teams, to differentiate yourself and also find problems and really move the conversation forward.
Wow. You said something that until today's day, I tend to over-explain or give the details. And I don't think that when somebody is interested in your product or service, they really want to know how do you do it. They just want the results.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm getting from this conversation right now, because I tend to explain to you how I'm going to do it and how I'm going to deliver those results, but that's irrelevant to you. At the end of the day, you're paying me for speed.
Yes.
Quality product or service, and you want what you are asking for 100% to be delivered on time. And when we overpromise, we tend not to deliver everything that we kind of overpromise. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I think that's one, whether you're a founder watching or a salesperson, is I've always wanted to build my sales process around under promising, so then we over deliver. Because what that opens up is way more referrals and clients that just stay with us longer. So that's something I train a lot of my founders and salespeople on. So they're not just relying on new leads, but they can build long-term relationships and drive more business. But that all starts actually on that first sales call.
Andre, but if I'm the one taking that call and I'm the one like giving you everything up, that of what we do, then when one of my sales advisors come on the call, you're like, oh, you're saying that you're only gonna do this, but Karen said all of this. That's where you come in. That's where you come in to
We do want to mitigate, that. I think, I think like kind of what we talked about, like under promising, over delivering on that initial sales call, will just pay dividends. And I think maybe you might find yourself doing that because we're over explaining.
Mm.
Right. And because we're over explaining the vast things that what you do, and I'm sure you do very well, then we need to match that up with like over promising. And then it just creates this whole situation.
Yeah. So it creates another bottleneck for operations and the ones
Yes.
that team that is delivering the
No,
product.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that, in the sales world, right? That's why the delivery team and the salespeople sometimes clash, because like rookie salespeople overpromise because they don't have to be the ones delivering what they promised on.
Yeah, it gives you the client happy, client satisfaction. But Andre, tell us a little bit more how important is sales in our business, right? Because sometimes we just see it as another sale, another contract deal, another commitment coming in with another, I will say, another merchant or credit card payment. But that goes above and beyond because we're talking about brand. If we under deliver and if we create problems for our team operations, and then that stress, that friction, and that's where you come in. In the trainings, right? That because Will was mentioning that you have a course where you train the team, but you also train the founder. That how do we present ourselves? How we create these sales, I will say, processes in our organizations, right? So making a business predictable.
Yeah. Well, sales is like your lifeblood, right? Like, that, right? Because you've been around for as long as you have. A lot of early stage entrepreneurs, like or business owners, maybe they're uncomfortable with sales, right? They want to focus on marketing or get out of it, but it's the lifeblood of your organization. And if you can't just lead your team by example, the culture that you're going to create, at least from my experience with founder-led sales teams, right? It just creates a lot of unnecessary friction.
Yeah. So what would be one good takeaways that you will say, working with this number of companies in the past years, I have seen that it's a common, well, I call it mistake, but deficiency that companies tend to have. And this is one that I have seen that, working with you, Andre, and your team, this is how they have transformed their business and themselves, right?
That's a great question. So let's take, for example, like the founder-led sales teams, like where the founder is still involved in the day-to-day of sales and brings in the majority of the revenue, but they have some other sales rep. Maybe that's you, right? What I notice is you're really good at what you do, and there's a little bit of like, can someone sell this as good as I can? Right. And that comes by not having a repeatable process. You're just relying on doing what you do really well. Right. And so if we can map out the things that you do well, but also incorporate your delivery through skilled questions, we can then start handing that off effectively to other salespeople and take you out of the day-to-day so you can focus on other aspects of the business. So one of my founders that I work with, that was exactly him. He's actually quite good at sales. But because he was driving so much of the revenue, he was like, I don't want to get out yet. I don't trust my team to be able to do what I do. Right.
That's dangerous. Yeah.
Right. Which is a very big fear. It's a normal fear. I would have that too.
Yeah.
Right? And so we systemized this process. We ramped his team. And now his revenue didn't increase tremendously, right? I think we increased his revenue by 20, 30%. But instead of him taking 20 sales calls a week, he takes 4, right?
Wow.
And his salesperson now is taking all of it. And so he's now focused on doing things like this, right? Building bigger relationships, building his brand. And over the next year, that's going to really skyrocket the organization. So that's really kind of where I come in and like help them, one, build that trust by having the system, but then setting up the team to have a repeatable process so we can really measure their performance.
So, many entrepreneurs, business owners, and my data have at least 6 to more consultations, and every conversation, many of them get overwhelmed by sales, and this fear and anxiety and stress comes from you're the one that have to do the marketing, you're the one that have to deliver the product or service. You're the one like really doing wearing many hats that have to process payroll. You're the one that have to make sure that everyone is getting paid, your vendors, in replying to vendors, customers, solving other problems, IT matters, renewing your insurance, all of these things. And you're the one in charge of sales.
Yeah.
So what would be a recommendation on your end, for those that are listening now, there's small business owners like us, that, what should you put in place, start the process in changing that mentality? Because I remember early in my career, this was 20 years ago, someone said, you can sell rocks. And I was like, oh, hell no, I hate sales. I was like, I hate sales. I am not going to be someone that is going to work in the industry or retail and just selling. And it doesn't matter what kind of business you have. You have to have the skills. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you were saying and Will, right? Sales is not literally just selling a product or a service. It's building a relationship. And I like that.
Yeah, it's building a relationship because, people buy from people they see who are authorities and who they trust, right? They don't necessarily buy from their friends, which is why especially the women I train, I'm like, I don't want you to be friendly. I want you to be an expert, right? But I think too is you nailed it. Invest, like whether it's me or someone else, obviously I'm a sales trainer, invest in your sales like training and your skill set because you're wearing so many hats, you don't want to be allocating 20 hours into sales calls and only being able to close 8 because that's 12 hours that could be allocated elsewhere in the business, right? So you really want to develop that skill set. Now, the second thing that a lot of people don't do is actually tracking their sales performance, right? Yeah. How many consultations, how many actually close, but then more importantly, why did the people that buy? And why did the people that didn't buy not buy? So then we can start reflecting, how do we avoid these or overcome these hesitations and actually have data to back it up. And then that's going to support you later when you actually start bringing the sales team on as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's all right. Because sometimes we have the wrong expectations too for our sales team. You're the founder. The people that is coming to your business is coming because of you, or they heard of you, word of mouth or someone else. But then you get this new team member in the organization, and you have the same expectations that you expect them to close at your rate. That happened to me.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I was speaking from experience. People, if you're listening out there, you can relate to this. This is why we need a process, a repeatable process.
Exactly. Can I share a story with you?
Yes, please.
I recently hired a tax planner, I guess, some big organization, Prime Accounting. I was referred to them, very happy with them. They've helped me kind of structure things within my business. So I reached out because I wanted help on like the tax side of things. And I get on, and the guy's like, "Hey man, welcome to the call. Where are you from?" Cool. And just went straight into a presentation for 35 minutes, telling me about everything, the definitions and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of I was like, wow, that's a lot of information. And now I had all these unnecessary questions that I started asking him that I didn't have beforehand. Before the call, I had 3 questions. I was like, if you can solve these things for me, I would like to move forward, right? Wow. But instead it was like, okay, wait, how does that work? How does that work? Now, how does that work, right? Now, I'm a salesperson, Karen. I'm the easiest person to sell to, right?
Yeah, because when you're ready to buy, when you
exactly, you know how the game goes.
You already convince yourself, yeah.
Right, but another prospect, right, who's not as easy to sell to, now might have all these unnecessary questions that they're going to say, "Thank you, I need some time to digest this. Yeah. Can we revisit this in a few days?" And now we're risking fall off, we're risking competition coming in and swooping them up. We're risking them just forgetting and life happening. Think about how much, I mean, you're a mom, right?
Yeah.
Think about how much happens in 3 days. You can be in a whole different country, right? And so these are the things we want to mitigate. And so if he had just asked me from the beginning, hey, happy to see how we can tailor this. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking for. What is causing you to look for some support now? What did you do in the past that maybe you're not as happy with? And I just told him my specific issues. He could have trimmed that presentation down to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And we would have been done and dusted in 25 instead of an hour and a half.
Wow.
Right. So just want to share that because I think it's applicable to potentially some of the people that are watching.
Yeah, definitely. Because, not only in the personal, but when you see businesses, you're trying to buy a product. One of the biggest issues I see with a lot of small business owners is that we don't have our product defined. We don't have what defines us, what makes us different, right? Why should I hire you, Andres? Why should I go with you as the best professional sales coach in the industry? And why should I not go with my cousin who just took some courses and graduated from one of the universities here in the state of Georgia. And he's been working at this firm. He's been selling cars for about 2 years, and he now knows he's killing it. And he's giving, he can streamline the process. It's going to give me a reduced price.
Yeah.
Why should I go with you, and why should I not go with him? That would be a question that I would like to hear from you. And then the next one is,
I'll answer that for you
to the
now.
audience, right?
I'll answer that for you now so I don't forget. I don't know if you should go with me. Maybe you should go with your cousin. What has you even looking for some help in actually developing your skill set around sales?
I'm sorry, what was that?
So I don't know if you should go with me, right? This is what I would tell a prospect. He's like, so why should I go with you versus your competitor? Well, I don't know if you should go with me, right? What actually has you looking for some help with your sales now? So this is genuinely how I would start a sales conversation, right? And this is like a typical salesperson. Well, this is why we're the best, right? We have this, and what am I doing? I'm pushing my product and my agenda on you.
Yeah.
Instead of just, I don't even know you should go with me. I mean, you tell me, like, what has you even looking for help? Maybe I can help you, maybe I can't. And now I'm actually going to be able to understand what your problem even is. You're telling me, and then I can build a better presentation around that.
Yeah, I always say that the best customers, a way to approach is identifying what the pain points are of the consumer. Like you were stating earlier in the presentation that you received from this firm. And number two, it would be identifying. I always tell people the same way you're interviewing to purchase a product or service from me. It's the same way I'm interviewing if I want you as a client. Because you might not be one of my avatars or one of my ideal clients. And so I have to identify if I want to help you as well, right? So, but we have to have identity. I always say you have to know what you're selling and who is your ideal customer that you're selling it to. Now, if we're selling in value, right? Because we're in the retail or we're in some sort of remote space that we want value in, which subscription based or other things that we're talking more about big quantities, right? Then it is different. Our approach is different, but it goes back to me, Andres, and please correct me here because you're the professional, you're the advisor here on this industry, right? Is that to me, it's extremely important that as a small business owner, you do have clear what your big why is. Why do you exist? Why do you offer this product? Is it about offering value to your customers? To me, in our firm, one of our core values is value first. And then we go into everything else. If I am not adding value through my services that I'm giving to you, and I'm just going to be charging you a monthly fee or some sort of fee for something that I know that's not going to help you. Like in my case, people come and say, I want to open all of these entities. And then when I look at, is it going to give you asset protection? Is it going to give you liability structure? What are we doing with these entities? Or are we just causing more filing fees, accounting fees, and all of these other fees that you're going to have, associated bank fees, but you're not going to use them as of right now? What can we open then in 6 or 3 months from now, right? What can we plan ahead? I'm not adding value to you. I'm adding an expense if I just go and register all of these things. So to me, it's value first. But what I normally see when I'm trying to buy or purchase something, that the person that I'm trying to buy it from, they don't have that identified. They're just trying to sell me a product and just telling me like my apples are better than the ones you're gonna find in from my competitors.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of nailed it, right? Like outcome. That's really what we want to sell is the outcome, right? Like I think we were talking about this earlier. But in terms of an analogy, like no one really cares like how the engine of the plane works. They just care if it can get them to Hawaii, right? So
I like that. I really don't care. Yeah, if they inspected it, well, I kind of do, but I don't check that.
yeah, it's like you trust that the pilot, Karen, knows what she's doing and can fly this thing to your destination, right? But also, so yes, outcome focus, like bigger than just like you're not just buying a subscription, you're solving a problem. That's what you're doing. But also too, I think you said something interesting about having your personal why. And for salespeople or founders, it's really easy on a sales call to just resort to your script, to your process. But when you're very clear on your why, you can also ask that to your clients, like what is really motivating them want to make big changes, and that can really create deeper relationships that will just last longer in your business.
Yeah, happy customers. Okay. We're getting to an end, Andres. What would be one advice or recommendation that you would give our listeners today? And say, if you can at least start with this. We're close to the end of the year. We'd like to see how you would recommend us to start 2026, right? And empowering not only ourselves but our team and our customers when it comes to New Year. Yeah.
Cool. I'll give you guys a few nuggets. One thing I've been training my founders and salespeople, typically in November, December, is we want to ask more why now questions. Like, why are we looking for help now versus waiting till quarter 1, right? Those questions people are scared to ask, but people will genuinely give you a response. So they're telling themselves why now instead of waiting for after the holidays. That's how we like pre-handle objections, right? The second thing is more of a concept is people believe 90% of what they say and 10% of what you say. Okay. And so when you're in a sales conversation, right, people have their sales guard up. They know there's going to be a pitch at some point. And so when you find yourself saying things, talking at them, how can you ask it in a question so they tell themselves, and it's much more persuasive when it comes from themselves than when it comes from someone else?
That's powerful.
That's what I got for you today.
That's powerful. Yes. If you take anything from this podcast, from this episode today, take that. That is powerful. That is preparing your ideal customer, your ideal client, your ideal patient for our doctors out there. You kind of like sell yourself before, I convince myself as of why I need something.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We do it all day.
I'm so bad. And I'm like, do I want status or do I just want a car to transport me? And I kept asking that question to myself. And I'm like, I think I'm looking for status. And then I'm like, but I said, why should I have this? This is additional money that shouldn't be paying. And so me and the woman in the mirror talking and convincing myself. So when I went to buy, I was ready to buy.
Exactly. That's the perfect example. So lead your prospects through that same process. You'll make more sales.
Wow. That's powerful, Andres. Well, thank you so much for giving us that information. How can people find you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So Cafe is for Closers is my brand. So if you guys have seen that old school movie, right? Coffee is for Closers. I'm Peruvian, so we added a little Latino flair to it. Instagram is probably the easiest. It's at Andres_Piff Papi. So there's a little bit of a joke there. PIF, Piff, actually means pay in full. So it's like a running joke in the sales industry. And then my YouTube is Cafe is for Closers. I do a lot of trainings. I do a lot more interview style content for people to learn and can implement right away. So Thanks for asking.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, and how can someone register for your course that you have if they wanna start the sales process with you? Would that be to Instagram and YouTube?
Yep, Instagram. If they follow me, they can shoot me. They can ask questions. There's a couple different ways that people can work with me if they want a kind of more group course or if they want private. So a couple different ways we can just chat about that on Instagram.
Okay, and you also said that you do groups, you do individual entrepreneurs. I'm really interested because you are coaching one of also industry leaders and podcasts right now in sales. Mm-hmm. And you're also stated that you do remote and you do in person, right? For those that are in different states and things like that. So yeah, this is fascinating.
Thank you for having me on, Karen. I enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Andres.
Thanks for listening to The Throne of Wealth. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review to help others find the show. A special thanks to our sponsor, King of Kings Accounting Firm, dedicated to helping you build and protect wealth for generations. Until next time, take the reins of your financial future and lead with confidence.